Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon from wherever you're listening for. This is the Resume Whisperer in Corporate Cultures, and I'm your host, Josef Stetter. I wanted to take this time to do an episode as a kind of personal rant of what I see is happening in the industry and some of the really bad advice that job seekers are getting. Okay, and understand, by no means am I the only expert in this field. There are plenty of experts out there, and I totally understand that you might prefer someone, let's say, if you identify as a woman, that is a woman to speak to you, someone that has the same cultural or ethnic background as you, and that's okay. But please do your homework on these experts and kind of what made them an expert. What is their kind of claim to fame from being a career coach, a resume writer, a guru, mentor, and so forth, because I've been attending workshops and seminars of other experts, and I've been listening to their advice, and literally my skin was in hives. I was so angry with some of the information that was being said. So I'm going to tie this in multiple levels. So first of all, I want you to understand that if you're new to North America, Canada, or United States, there is no such thing as Canadian or American experience. Many companies will require it. Canadian or American experience means, do you speak English properly? And you might do this job better than me, and I'm afraid to lose my job, so I'll tell you don't have Canadian experience. Understand that it is actually illegal to ask for North American experience. It is a loophole in the system, okay? And it is designed to kind of control some of where and how things are happening, right? And unfortunately, especially in Canada, there's this kind of horse with blinder mentality that, experience from around the world, including the United States, is not real experience. Only Canadian experience is real. Both Canada and the United States are recognized as melting pots of culture, where you can go and have festivals and food and music and movies and experiences related to your ethnic and cultural background. So the idea of requesting Canadian or American experience is absolutely ludicrous. In essence, it boils down to this. If I give you feedback that might be negative or critical, are you going to go postal and shoot everybody? That is kind of the concern. The next idea, because even in North America, there's a significant difference in the way that people communicate between East Coast and West Coast. People in New York speak differently than people in California. They act differently than people in California. Okay. Second thing, and this is a blended mix of where and how people have earned their expertise. I've personally invested close to 30,000 hours to master everything there is to know about job finding. And so some of this advice is outdated. So people that write resumes that are very generic, cookie cutter, black and white, that have a heading that says kind of career history or skills, and they write information like hardworking, dedicated, committed team player, excellent communication skills, and interpersonal skills. What does that mean? That is all fluff. Let's be honest, okay? I've met a ton of people that have horrible communication skills, but have found gainful employment. understand that all of these words like excellent communication skills, interpersonal skills, team player, hardworking, each one of us has our own definition of what those words mean and how they apply. Okay, so I've given this example in the past, but I want to reiterate this because I'm listening to these experts and I'm going, what are you talking about? During the pandemic, nurses, more often than not, had to work 4 hours of overtime almost per day because there was such a shortage of medical professionals, especially nurses. An accountant during tax season is required to work 80 hours a week. So does that mean that in order for the accountant to be hardworking, they have to work 100 hours? And if a nurse, because they were trying to be of service, worked 4 hours, does that mean that they're not hardworking? Now, if the nurse is only working 4 hours of overtime, are they less hardworking than the accountant? No, they're not, because they're different industries that have different stresses and different headaches. So stop filling your resumes with fluffy, generic information like I'm a team player, I have interpersonal skills, and all this other useless information. I guarantee you that no applicant tracking system is ever searching for those words. Okay. And again, in 20 years of recruiting, I've met, maybe I can count on one hand, people that either tried to be funny or really didn't know how to interview, that told me that they're lazy, that they'll show up late, none of them, their work will be any good, and they really, really hate people. The only time you might be able to get away with that is if your family owns the business or you're having an affair or sleeping with somebody in the company. So stop telling me that you're hardworking, because everybody's hardworking. Okay. And resume writers that put it on your resume are wasting your time. Okay. Now there's a lot of say that, you shouldn't format your resume because it's this. No, you should have at least two versions of your resume. One that is more modern with a little bit of color, with maybe different types of bullets, with formatting the bricks. And again, I'm not a graphic designer, but if you go to insert text box on Microsoft Word, you can get some simple modifications that get you noticed. Key thing here is get you noticed. Now, this is where we get into discussion, because in the world of job finding right now, there's two mindsets. The first is terrified of AI, and the second one maybe is trying to use AI. Whether or not they're using it correctly, that's a whole other conversation. Now, understand, old applicant tracking systems like the original Monster, Indeed, Career Builder, Glassdoor measured the formatting of your resume. So what font did you use? What the circle bullets that you used or whatever. Not necessarily the quality or the content of it. Okay. New AI resumes, if the AI is programmed correctly, are measuring the technical skills, not the fluffy, hardworking, dedicated. Also, understand, yes, your resume must have action words like directed, liaised, managed, coordinated, whatever the words are depending on the industry. But it is not enough to give me those words without quantifying them. Okay. And it's not enough to just string a few words together. Yes, you can go on ChatGPT and ask it to write your resume. So if you're an accountant, let's say in public accounting, ChatGPT can write you a formatted resume, which everybody uses. Here's the problem in what I just said. Everybody uses it, which means you look and sound exactly like everybody else. So understand that unless you spend the time to teach your chat who you are, what your stories are, what your successes are, what your achievements are, what your contributions are, what is the significance of your work, it can never really do you justice. Because understand that there's a lot of words that translate from one industry to another, like reporting. Okay. Pretty much every job, especially if you're not an entry-level job, requires you to do reporting. But there's a very big difference between doing a 1-page report, doing a 25-page report, or doing a 100-page report. There's a very big difference if you're just going, here's what's going on and here's a summary, versus here's financial modeling and here's 3 ways of looking at risk and calculating what is the potential harm to the business from each scenario. Okay, so you need to give examples that demonstrate what you've done. Okay, because again, you need to populate your resume with technical terms associated with your. If you're not sure what those terms are, look at a few job descriptions on LinkedIn, on Indeed, on Google, doesn't matter what, and find key sentences that are kind of consistent in those job descriptions. Those sentences need to be on your resume, right? So if you say to me, I was responsible for reporting, budgeting, forecasting, okay, I can show you without effort 30 jobs that have that requirement in their job description. But if you don't explain to me what you did or how you did it, or what is the impact or the results that you produced, you're giving me useless information. Because if you think that potential employer are going to guess accurately how good you are, you've got another thing coming. So if you're dealing with a career coach or resume writer or recruiter that's telling you to write a resume that says you should say that you've done reporting, budgeting, and forecasting and not explain it, they're wasting your time. Okay? Because as the expression in English goes, facts tell and stories sell. Tell your story. Okay? Those of you who are old enough to remember the movie Legally Blonde, when Reese Witherspoon, or Elle Woods is the main character, applies to Harvard University and then applies to the internship, she gives the employers a pink scented resume. And everyone looks and goes, it's pink and it's scented, but they remember it. So understand, yes, you can use AI, and there is some great tools to check if your resume meets the algorithm of particular job description in terms of keywords. But after AI writes your resume, unless you've taken the time to get to know ChatGPT and build a persona and build a background story and give them details of your values and where you're okay with, let's say, stretching some of the truth in terms of dates or specific experiences, okay, it cannot create for you a resume that will get noticed. And in fact, certain companies now have implemented in their applicant tracking systems ways of going, if this resume was generated by ChatGPT, put the word banana throughout the resume, for example, and they will not interview for that. So be careful of using AI just to kind of generate a standard cookie cutter. Now, even if you use it as a basis, give examples, quantify the results, okay? There's a difference when I say I've helped 12,000 people and someone says I'm a resume whisperer or a resume writer that's worked for 2 years or a year, okay? And I can speak to experience of that. I had an ex-girlfriend that after we broke up started dating someone who had money and wanted to open a business. She decided she's going to write resumes. She was working part-time at Walmart and was afraid of asking for full-time employment because the department really needed her to put whatever she was putting on the shelf, and never had a real job in her life. And then she decided, oh, resumes writing is easy. You just go on Google, you find a few keywords, boom, boom, you have a resume. And she was charging $100 to $150 for resume. And after she did a disaster of writing those resumes, when people reach out to me and I say, I charge more than that because I've earned the right to say I'm an expert, they're like, but I already paid for another. In fact, I just fixed 3 people's resumes that somebody else wrote that wrote the most cookie cutter, generic, bland, boring resume. And when I started asking the person I was speaking to, what are the results you produced? What's the significance of your work? He was like, well, I did this. I'm like, why is that nowhere in the resume? He was like, because I assumed I was going to say that in the interview. Well, if you're not getting interviews, how are you going to say that? Listen, if your resume that's generic is working for you, more power to you. You've done something right. If you're getting interviews because you have a phenomenal network, more power to you. But the majority of the population currently in North America, 60 million people are unemployed. Another 50 million people are severely underemployed, meaning have a university degree but work at McDonald's. Okay, and then another 30 to 40 million people are going through the education system and trying to get internships, trying to get co-ops, or trying to get their first job. Either way, there's a lot of people that need help finding jobs. And there's a lot of really bad generic information out there. Okay. Your resume does not need to be over the top crazy. You don't need to put icons and pictures and stuff like that. But small things, color, change the font slightly, even if it's just for your headings, change your bullet a little bit, quantify your results, explain to me the level of technical expertise that you have. Okay, it's a big difference. I've written 12,000 resumes. Somebody's written 5. I've had people get hired in 2 days. Another career coach tells you you'll get hired in 6 months to a year. I've heard career coaches say, well, the market's really tough. Expect to go 2 or 3 jobs lower in scale than what you're at. That's ridiculous. It means you're not marketing yourself correctly. It means you're speaking to the wrong people. Understand, and forgive me for being a little bit crash right now. There's an expression in English that says, opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one. Right? Now understand, if you go to 5 career coaches, you will probably get 20 different opinions. Discern the information. Look for patterns of what everyone is saying. Maybe they're saying it in a different way. That's fine. Maybe they told you a story you can relate to or an example that you can relate to. Maybe they've worked more in your industry and that's why you choose them. Great. I encourage you. Like I said, I'm not the only expert out there, but make sure that when you're speaking to your expert, first of all, understand what made them an expert. What is their own personal experiences? What is the success rate? Right? Start asking those questions. Have you worked with people in this industry? How quickly have they found jobs? What's the feedback they've gotten on their resume? Have they had a hard time or good time? Because it shouldn't matter the industry. Look, yes, we are experiencing a hard time. Right now, there's political uncertainty in predominantly the United States. Canada's not that much better, to be honest with you. But that doesn't mean that companies are shutting down. Okay, and I want you to understand that, just because someone is a good writer or a good social media content creator does not make them a resume writer, does not make them an expert. Just because someone has written resumes does not mean that they understand AI. Trust me, I was in a technology conference, one of the biggest in Canada, in fact, in North America, right? And I went to some of these HR platforms and I was speaking to the people there that were very excited because everybody said that each one of their platforms is AI. And I started, because I'm a non-techie, I started asking them HR questions. And they couldn't answer them, right? Like, your system, how does it accommodate for really bad resumes? And again, many of you are writing horrible resumes. Telling me on your resume that you're an excellent team player and you love your job, nobody cares. Tell me what results you produced. And if you have resume writers that are not highlighting how great you are with stories, with results, with examples, you're wasting your time and your money. Okay? Again, check. Ask to speak to people that they've worked with. Ask those people questions. How long did it take you? Did you have any feedback on your resume? Did you have to change it a few times? Right? Get those insights, because it shouldn't take you that. Yes, the market is very tough and AI has affected a lot of creative jobs like video editing and graphic design, because AI can create it for you and can create it faster and give you options. I'm not dismissing that AI is here, but understand AI is here to stay. And if you're not adapting and learning how to use AI correctly, you're going to be left in the dust. Okay. And there's a level where there's the human factor. Okay. your job search should not just be job boards. If you're spending 8 hours a day on job boards, you do not know how to find a job. You are wasting your time. 10% of your job search should be job boards. Why? Because let's say Indeed, as the largest job board in the market, probably has less than a 5% success rate of people finding employment through that portal. I can tell you that there are jobs that I posted 7 years ago that I completely forgot about. And because I did not delete them or stop them, Indeed AI platform renews the job description, and I'm still getting resumes for this job. And people that have been a little bit more creative and actually looked up my name and looked up my phone number or my agency's phone number called me and said, I'm applying for this job. And I was like, I'm sorry, this job is not real. It was posted 7 years ago, and Indeed AI refreshed the job. Okay, so 10% of your job search should be on Indeed. You should optimize your LinkedIn profile. I just had a recruiting order to recruit for regulatory and compliance in the banking industry. And I looked at 1,000 LinkedIn profiles. Over 650 of them only had their job title, the years of work, and the name of the bank that they work for. No technical skills, no descriptions of their job. And again, if you think I have the time to message 650 people and say, hey, do you have experience this? Do you know this? No. And the ironic thing is they're in compliance and regulatory affairs, which means they should be super detailed oriented and had no information on their LinkedIn profile. And that hurt them. So if you have a generic empty LinkedIn profile that just has where you've worked and what your job title was, and it doesn't tell me any highlight reels, I'm not calling you as a recruiter. And I guarantee you, many other recruiters aren't either. Okay? So quantify. Your LinkedIn should not, you should fill everything on your LinkedIn. Your achievements, your education, your this, because if somebody goes, hey, I went to the same school and that opens a door for you, I don't care. It opened the door for you. If someone went, oh, this guy increased productivity by 30%, I want to speak to them. Great. If you work for a particular company and you did particular things for them, great, right? There are very few companies and very few schools that as soon as that name is on your resume, you're automatically hired. Harvard, Yale, Stanford, MIT, right? Companies like Meta, Google, Apple. If you work for those companies, you're guaranteed a job for life. You never have to worry about it. It doesn't matter how horrible your resume is. Okay, or you went to those places of education. But you need to stop with this, everything's the same. Rule of thumb for your resume. If you have less than, let's say, 30 years of experience, and okay, I'm going to say a few things here. First, let me preempt this. If you've had a long, illustrious career of well over 35 years, do not put the dates of your education on your LinkedIn profile and on your resume, because I can aid you very, very quickly by calculating when you graduated, you were probably around 21, 22, and where you are, what we are in today's date. Second of all, even if you've progressed throughout your career, I don't care what you did when you were a teenager. I don't care what you did as your first job. If it's not like if you started off in an entry-level position and now you're a director, I don't care about your entry-level job. Just give me the director stuff. Just give me the management stuff. Don't give me anything before that, because it's not relevant to where you're looking for a job. So stop trying to fill everything unless you're trying to work for government. That's the only exception. That's when you put everything and give every single detail possible. Okay. But companies, there is now kind of a dichotomy of, oh my God, I'm mature and I was downsized because younger, cheaper graduates. Here's what's happening with that. With all the recalls that are happening with automotive, with products out there, companies are starting to understand that these younger MBAs might have a great education, but they don't have experience. And experience will always trump education. Okay. And you know what? It might be cheaper, but you're going to pay longer you're going to pay more in the long run when someone who's inexperienced is making the wrong decisions, which is what's happening in the world right now in many, many cases. And so there's quite a few companies that are now desperately looking for those more experienced professionals. Okay. So make sure that whoever's writing your resume is asking you about your story, is asking you about your experiences, is asking to quantify your results. At the end of the day, if your resume does not show that you made money, you saved money, or you increased efficiency, your resume is telling me nothing, right? Because I can take any profession, okay? Teacher. If you know one teacher that does not know how to do a lesson plan, I would like to meet them. If you know one accountant that does not know how to do financial statements, I would like to meet them and figure out how they got hired without knowing anything about what they're doing as their job or profession. Okay. So it really irks me when I hear experts going, oh, it's going to be impossible. You're going to have to send out thousands of resumes. It's going to take you a year to find a job. No. If you market yourself correctly in the highlight reel of this is me, this is my results, this is who I am, you'll get results. If you learn how to network correctly, right? Not just go to a networking event, go, hi, can I get your card? Can I send you my resume? Earn the right. Have a conversation with people, right? Talk about them, talk about their successes, talk about their experiences, talk about why they're so successful. What are they most proud of? How would they mentor somebody? If you ask somebody how they would mentor, you'd be surprised how much people will tell you, how much information they'd give you, right? There used to be a great cartoon called Animaniacs. And there was a little girl by the name of Mindy that her mom would kind of put her to play beside the dog. And Mindy was very curious and she would start exploring and she would kind of walk into the street and the dog would kind of chase her and try to save her. And she would meet someone randomly. What are you doing? And the person would say something and she'd say, why? And the person would answer and she'd say, why? And the person would answer her. And she'd say, why? And the person would answer her and she goes, okay, I love you. Bye-bye. But it goes to show, if you ask why 3 times of a single person, it is amazing the amount of information you can get. So understand that when you hear resume writers, career coaches, recruiters tell you, oh, you need to be generic, don't format your resume because the applicant tracking system won't catch it. Yes, there's formatting and there's formatting. If you put too many images, applicant tracking system won't know it. But you should have a minimum of 2 versions of your resume. One that has a little bit more personality, i.e. color, different bullets, different layout than the standard resume that you can send as an email attachment, and one that is more standard but still gives you results. Not generic, I have experience in this and I've done this, because if you work and you have at least, let's say, 5 years of experience and a little bit of responsibility, everybody has done reporting, budgeting, forecasting, other duties as assigned, scheduling. Again, they apply to pretty much every single industry. So you need to define, what that is. Even and the problem is that a lot of these job descriptions are so generic that, hey, it applies to anything. I was looking at nursing resumes for one of my clients today, and I read the job descriptions, and I'm like, I've never worked as a nurse, but based on this job description, I've been a leader. I could probably do all the things that they say here because I have leadership skills and I have proven results. Whether or not they're the correct results, that's a different conversation, right? But make sure that you ask. See if there's testimonials that are written. If the person is good at writing resumes, there should be some video testimonials. There should be some written testimonials on their LinkedIn profile, on their social media, right? Have they been on podcasts? Have they been interviewed in articles? Have they contributed to the information out there, right? Make sure you ask and also I want to say this. I appreciate that the world's gone crazy and people are genuinely trying to help. There are some people that are genuinely trying to help you move forward. But if you're asking a financial advisor that sells insurance and mutual funds how to write a resume, they might have suggestions and the overall understanding of the market conditions and wherever you live. But a financial advisor is an independent contractor. They're not an employee. They probably have not written a resume in many, many years. So they might not be the correct expert to ask about resume writing. Now, if they are personally introducing you to their friends and based on knowing their friends, they tell you specific things to put on your resume, by all means, that is very valuable information. Okay. But your job search, you should be networking. You should be asking for referrals. And networking is not just go to any networking event. Okay. I'm going to give you a few resources here that will help you, such as meetup.com, eventbrite.com. There are free events that people in your industry, you can select what you want to talk about in those events or what you want to see that you can attend. So if you're in the banking industry and a bank is doing a information session on how AI is impacting the banking industry, go attend that thing. It'll cost you $10, $20, but the people that are attending are in the banking industry. They're interested in the job, right? And they can open doors for you because they're in the right conversation. Okay, beyond that, Chamber of Commerce or Board of Trade, depending on where you live, every major city has one or the other, a Chamber of Commerce or a Board of Trade. Okay, if you're in major cities, they also have a convention center, like where big events happen. Obviously, Las Vegas, a gazillion of them, right? But look at what events are happening in the convention center. That's a hint. Those are people in your industry. Those are people like-minded. Okay, the Project Management Institute or the PMI. Okay, the people that attend their breakfast, their lunch, or their dinner are project managers and above. These are decision makers that, if they like you, can interview you, get you the job. Okay, but it's not just Indeed. It's not just LinkedIn. Okay, and the moment you start understanding that you can do a little bit extra, and I've been talking about this for the past 3 months, go in person to visit a company, personalize messages, be creative, and send a box of donuts, send fortune cookies with your resume, with contact information, with creative, like, here's a wow moment from your career that they want to talk to you about, and you'll get noticed, you'll get a job. But please stop with the sea of sameness where everybody, understand people that work in HR, recruiters, are spending 8 to a maximum of 30 seconds reading your resume if a human looks at it. If an AI looks at it or an applicant tracking system, probably less, because it's got built-in tools to look for certain phrases. So use the phrases in the job description. But 8 to 30 seconds. If your resume is boring, black and white, generic, cookie cutter, looks almost identical to every profession and every job and every resume, you will not get called. Okay? And you will be frustrated. You will start being stressed because finances. You will be anxious. You will kind of think that there's nothing out there. Again, there are some industries that have been hit very hard, and I'm not dismissing that. I'm speaking to people. Some of them are friends of mine that have been really hard. But, if you have to do what you have to do to earn a living to take care of your family, I respect and admire you tremendously for that. But don't make that the crutch that says, I cannot do anything. Look, I have 2 beautiful little kids, a 4-year-old and an almost 2-year-old, okay, that I try to spend quality time with every single day. I wake up around 5 a.m. and my day usually runs till about 11:30 or 12, okay? between trying to run 3 businesses and doing certain things that I need to do, like writing resumes, recruiting, learning about AI, and learning how to do marketing and so forth. Okay. I sacrifice my sleep, let's say, in order to advance my life and my career. I sacrifice certain things right now, long term, to reap the rewards. If you're working multiple jobs or you're working long, crazy hours, take a day off, 1 day, a week, apply for jobs. Spend some time on Indeed. If you do an Indeed, save your searches and have them email you daily new searches. Okay. Go on LinkedIn. Optimize your LinkedIn by saying, here's how great I am. Tell your story with details, with numbers, with results, with examples. Okay. If you have people that you work with that can write you a testimonial, that is huge on your LinkedIn profile from credibility and trust. Okay. Go networking. Okay. If you need to, and again, on Eventbrite and Meetup, there's a lot of Zoom meetings that you can attend. Okay. Find a mentor that's, let's say, a VP that's willing to teach you and advise you and guide you and potentially connect you to their network. Ding, ding, right? People don't talk about this. People talk about, oh, you should apply on Indeed. You should Google job search. Use AI platforms that offer, applicant tracking matching, and make sure that you have the technical words needed for the job description, but quantify results. Make a difference, right? Take the time to ask for help, not from asking for a job, but who do you know that can guide me, that can advise me, that can direct me? And make sure that when you're speaking to expert, they are actually experts. They're not self-proclaimed, because it seems that, especially in the coaching industry, everybody and their sister is an expert. I can tell you that I have gone through 5 different marketing agencies that I've spent quite a bit of money to get me results that produced 0 results, because I gave them my information, they pumped it into a generic AI platform and gave me the same formula or the same ideas or strategy to level up my business. But they didn't listen to my expertise, my story, what makes me different, why me. And that's why their marketing didn't work. And I had to learn that the hard way, because I had to pay for it and then go, you're not getting it, I'm going to do it myself. And I'm not a marketer, but now I'm learning it, which is something else to add to my collection of things that keep me busy as a whole. But I wanted to share this because I'm so frustrated with the generic, like, oh, your resume should be exactly like this. And ask advice. Look at, there's so much on social media. Take advantage of it. Okay. Because if you're smart, you'll connect with different experts, get different perspectives, and choose the information that connects to you, that makes sense to you, that you can implement and see results. My name is Josef Stetter. I am the Resume Whisperer and the Corporate Cultures. I hope you've enjoyed the show, and I want to thank you for listening. If you like the content that we're delivering, please like, subscribe to the channel, and I hope you have a beautiful evening, a great morning, and an awesome afternoon. Thank you.